for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. It's a perfect protein bar. Anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost could attest that the G2G Bar, phenomenal. You can find them in the refrigerated section at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. Take advantage of it today. Let's get into the cut right here, top of the hour. Let's get to one of our good friends of the program, Mitch Harper, our BYU Insider for KSLSports.com. Let's get to the cut to kick things off.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this hour, the cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com. For all of your trusted local financial needs. Trajan Wealth. Mitch Harper, BYU Insider, KSLSports.com. Mitch, what's going on, man?
Just got out of Instacare because I got a Q-tip cotton ball stuck in my ear.
Wow.
And they had to pull it out. So,
wow.
But now I can hear you loud and clear, and I'm ready to go.
Listen.
What?
The king of TMI. He's Mitch Harper, everybody.
Wait,
Hey, you know
we
what?
can't even talk about football today, Mitch. We got to hear the story. Like, what in the world?
I think it was pretty clear cut what happened.
What?
Yeah,
but I mean,
being a dummy and you still using Q-tips and shoved it too far deep,
Hey.
and then the cotton ball got stuck, and then I used tweezers to try to pull it out, and it got farther
got
deeper,
worse.
and got worse, and so I went over to Instacare, and the
You know
fine
what?
folks there just pulled it out.
Let's keep going on this. You read the Q-tip instructions, right? You've seen the same pictures that I have. No one has used Q-tips in their ears for, I think, a couple of decades now. At least that's what they lead you to believe. The Q-tips are sold for one purpose. It's for ears, and but they go like this. Oh no, you clean keyboards with them, and you're like, that is
Lies.
BS. Okay, so I'm with you, Mitch. But
I will tell you.
Did you get? I want to know if you got the third degree from the Insecure people. Like, you're not supposed to use those on your ears.
Yes, they
Come
did.
on.
They did tell me not really supposed to use them. They're like not really a thing anymore. But I said, well, I'll try to pivot to something else then. I guess I got to figure out what else to use.
How can they expect us to not put those things in our ears when it feels so dang good?
Come on.
It does. It's so satisfying.
My favorite was, so when you went to the Instacare and you're filling out the form and you're like, I got some cotton stuck in my ear, brother. Don't tell anybody. They're all, are you Mitch Harper? That's my favorite, is when stuff like that happens. So, you know what? I thought you were going to go full, what's his name? Jason Pierre-Paul on us and say, I only got 3 fingers now after the 24th. I'm glad it wasn't that.
There were a lot of fireworks, so it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. All right, Mitch, we'll let you off the hook from your personal medical information, but we'll.
I think you probably have the Guinness Book of World Records for the oldest person to ever get cotton stuck in your ear from a Q-tip.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Congrats.
Mitch, let's. I've been encouraging people to go over to KSLSports.com and check out the 24 thoughts before camp, because now we've got, what are we? We're right on top of it here. We're a week away, or just less than a week. No, I guess what would we be? About 4 days away now, I guess, from camp. When does it actually start up for BYU?
Yeah, players report July 30th, and then Wednesday's the expected first day, and so it's next week. We're less than a week away.
That's awesome. Well, we're getting into it, which means if we're less than a week away, all of those question marks. The biggest one, of course, being the quarterback competition. Is like, how many quarterbacks are actually going to be competing? Who's got a realistic, kind of shot to be on that top of the board? Is Trayson Bourget getting a look, or is it just going to be between Jake Retzlaff and Gary Bohannon? And when on earth are we going to actually see McKay Hillstead being far enough along and knowing the offense to maybe be a part of that conversation?
It's important questions, and I think week one of fall camp is is going to be interesting. I think one of the big things I'm watching for is who does get first-team reps. It's hard to imagine 4 quarterbacks getting first-team snaps when all of those snaps are precious, and you've got to make the most of all those opportunities. I mean, if you really want to stretch it beyond 2, I think you say 3 guys, and I think that third guy probably should be McKay Hillstead. And McKay Hillstead is such a dynamic athlete, and he can bring – he's kind of that dual-threat quarterback that's just always worked with Aaron Roderick and BYU over the last, 10 or so years, those dual-threat guys. And I think Hillstead's the wild card in this mix that can really shake it up. I do believe Trayson Bourget in spring had moments where he looked good, but I don't believe his ceiling is a QB1 coming out of fall camp. Maybe if some things go as far as injuries or poor play where you're calling up Bourget and they like him. They think they could turn to him. But if you really want to find a guy that can win week in, week out and put this offense in a position to play at a high level, you're going to go Retzlaff, Bohannon, and I think the wild card is McKay Hillstead could be that third guy.
Where's Gary Bohannon at? I know you've had some conversations. It's not about talent. It's about, has he recovered from the injury? Does he have the deep ball back? Is the accuracy back? It's all about the injury. How close is he, or how effective do you think he's going to be, and how strong is he going to be when he starts camp here next week?
I'm expecting him to be at full strength and to be this is the opportunity, the clear evaluation of what he's going to be. So, in spring there were many passes in the media observation windows where they were underthrown balls, and he didn't really give you many signs that you felt like he was QB1. Now, the final week of spring, and I remember that final practice, he looked really good, and it was starting to show glimpses of, okay, maybe there's a reason why Aaron Roderick is so confident he's in the top 2. But, you want to see that arm strength on display because the explosive plays have to be a factor for BYU. The Aaron Roderick offenses that have succeeded have always had those chunk yardage plays through the air. And if it's Bohannon, if it's Retzlaff, they've got to deliver on that, and Bohannon has to look good. And, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how BYU, performs this season coming out of a quarterback competition, just kind of looking at the history under Kalani over the past, 8 years. His best teams have performed coming out of quarterback battles. 2016 with Taysom and Tanner Mangum, 2020 with Zach Wilson, and then 2021 when it was Jaron Hall and he beat out Baylor Romney and Jacob Conover. Those are his 3 best teams, and I don't think this team is built to be 10 wins, 9 wins like those teams, but there is a bit of a trend, and Kalani was very confident coming out of Big 12 media days, and you guys talked to him. I mean, he feels that all 4 of these quarterbacks could play, but Bohannon was the incomplete grade coming out of spring. Now it's time to really see what these coaches have been saying they believe in him, because the outside is not seeing it, and now he's got to perform, and it starts next week at fall camp.
Mitch, the running back room is one that I think people are really excited about, but also pretty wary of what actually could be going on in that running back room, because Hinckley, Falau, Ropati, however you want to say it now these days, that's a guy who had a lot of promise, of course, tore his ACL. LJ Martin's added a bunch of weight to get him to year 2 and to be a more effective, but this is a conference that runs the freaking football. How is BYU going to keep up with the rest of the conference, and can they have that run first offense that can get set up for the rest of their of that offense for Aaron Roderick, who had such a bad go last year?
They've got 3 running backs they feel can perform in games right now with LJ Martin, Ropati, and then Miles Davis. I think the 4th guy potentially is a Pokayawa Honga, a return missionary out of Timpview High School. He's drawn some comparisons to like a Reno Mahe type of player that could do a lot of different things, be a pass catcher out of the backfield. He could be that freshman that makes a dent in that backfield. Last week I talked to LJ Martin. He was doing an NIL event, and, he said that he'd be ready to go for fall camp, and we'll see, because he's got to be big for BYU. I think if you're going to talk about who's going to be a star out of that backfield and be a Tyler Algier or a Tyson Williams that can be a feature back, I think the guy that's got the biggest ceiling and potential is LJ Martin. And, there's a high bar for for running back play in the Big 12. And I think a lot of BYU fans, and I think, outside when the people that follow BYU football, if you compared this roster to a Mountain West or an independent schedule, this team's built to win 8 or 9. But now you're in the Big 12 where the standard is go through the list. You go Ollie Gordon, R.J. Harvey at UCF, DJ Giddens at Kansas State. You keep going down and down, and L.J. Martin is a really good player. Hinckley Ropati, really good player. That's probably the 15th best running back unit in the Big 12. And I don't think enough people have talked about that coming into this season. And look, Ropati and Martin could surprise, and this offensive line's got to be good. But I thought it was to me a missed opportunity going to get another transfer portal running back for BYU because they just needed another piece to add to that group because we saw it last year when L.J. Martin went down against Texas. It was a rolled ankle, and you're one rolled ankle away or whatever it may be, from where you're digging into running backs that historically have just done nothing for BYU. It's a pretty clean slate of you don't point to many games that these guys have been difference makers, and to now expect them to play, consistently perform where you're playing 10 Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams again. It's going to be interesting. So you got to have some out of left field star production perform. And look, BYU's had a history of that with Algier. He came out of nowhere from linebacker, and then they switched him back to running back, and he became a single season rushing leader. So they've done it. We'll see how it goes, but this is just a higher bar, and the level of competition is a lot tougher in this league. And I think a lot of people don't realize how physical this conference is. A lot is made about Utah's physicality. So many teams in this conference play that physicality game. Kansas State, Baylor. These teams are going to be very physical, and you already got a glimpse of it last year. It's going to continue to grow with the four corner schools. This is going to be a tough league, and so BYU's got to have that ground attack on point this season.
So BYU has maybe the 15th or 16th best quarterback room in the Big 12. You're saying the 15th or 16th best running back room. Like, how is this offense going to find what it needs and be better than 120th in the country like it was last year? Because if they're not, it's going to be a tough go. What gives you confidence that this offense can figure things out? Is the offensive line going to be that much improved? They also had their issues last season.
I think the offensive line will be better. And, I think Caleb Etienne is a key piece that he's got to be a difference maker. And, he's shed some weight. He looks great physically going into fall camp. And I'm expecting big things from Etienne. And Braden Keim, I think, is a potential NFL draft pick. And then you got Waylon Lapuaho at guard, who I think is the best offensive lineman in the entire group, and Connor Pay, who's the leader. You got to figure out that right guard position. You could play Etienne there, maybe bring in Isaiah Jota at right tackle, the Colorado transfer, or Joe Brown is a name to watch, a freshman who came back from a mission, turned down scholarships to commit to BYU as a walk-on. I'm really intrigued to see what he does in fall camp. I think he's going to be a real difference maker in that two deep for BYU's O-line. I like the options there, and I like the coaching too. I don't think it's as deep as what we've seen from BYU offensive lines in the last 5 years, but I do think that the top end and the coaching is going to be better. And I think that TJ Woods is going to get a lot out of these guys. A lot has been made about the accountability. Players were very candid about that, particularly Connor Pay at Big 12 Media Day. So I think there's good options there, but they got to stay healthy because I think the second unit is a lot thinner than what it's been in the past.
Does the Royal Blue Collective operate for football the same way that it does for basketball? Or how does it work when it comes to, getting athletes, paid these days? Because that's obviously a massive part of these conversations, and the conversation has been furthered with basketball. But is football coming along in that sense? I think that's something that people, we still hear Kalani and A-Rod and Jay Hill and Fessy all talk about, yeah, look, if a guy comes in and asks for money right off the bat, that's not really a starter for us. But the reality is that's kind of more the direction of what football is doing. And so where's BYU in that sense?
I think it got better this offseason because you were able to bring back Tyler Batty, Connor Pay, and give them opportunities to make money and for their final year as COVID seniors. But it's not feeling like that impact with, like basketball. But I do believe the collective made inroads because you maintain this roster despite all the adversity, despite all the losing. this group pretty much stayed intact, and a lot of these guys are tied to the Royal Blue Collective. I think the bigger question going forward will be, will BYU get up to that $22 million in revenue sharing right away when that's expected to take into effect next year? That's going to be the key for BYU in the future. I talked with Tom Holmoe about that, multiple times this offseason at spring business meetings and media days. And he's always said that BYU is going to try to compete at the highest levels, but you got to move fast because, 12 months ago this time, there was a Pac-12, and that's gone now. College sports are moving faster than ever, and you just do not want to be left behind because I'm of the belief that there is one more phase, whatever it is, in college athletics that we don't know about, like the final piece to what the next 40 years of college football is going to be, and you under no circumstances want to be left out of that. You want to be at the highest stages, and I also believe it's beneficial, too, that you got a commissioner in Brett Yormark who's he's making it clear you're going to compete at the highest levels. And, talking to Yormark at spring business meetings in May, he's expecting all the schools to be at that $22 million threshold. So if you want to be left behind, go ahead. But I think BYU wants to be at the highest stages. And I even talked to Holmoe about, the support from Salt Lake about, this just sudden push for money and how it's just in your face. And, he said that they're very supportive. And so when you've got that piece there, I think that helps BYU to whatever you want to talk about financially, they're going to put themselves in a position to compete. I think basketball's just shown you that they'll do it in the highest stages. But I think they got to move a little bit faster, though, in football because you got a path to get to the playoff and be in the upper tier of the Big 12. You don't want to squander that opportunity. Don't expect it this year, but within these next 3 years, it's critical to kind of be in that conversation in the league.
We've talked about everything from quarterbacks to Q-tips in this segment, and not one question yet about the defense. The pass rush has to be better. There's position battles. What are you going to be looking at during camp, Mitch, on the defensive side? What do you want to see? What do you expect to see?
The cornerback position outside of Jacob Robinson, I think that's a big one that BYU's got to shore up. Robinson, I believe, is a top 4 Big 12 cornerback this year. I put him in my first team all Big 12 ballot. I think he's going to be a star for the Cougars. Mark Collins from Weber State, I think, is the favorite going into camp. He didn't play in spring, was banged up. We're going to get our first look at him coming up in fall camp. And then they've got other options like Maury Bamba, who's kind of a freak, could be that freaky NFL combine type guy, but struggled last season. So he's another name to watch. The safety position, how they kind of shake all of that out. There's so many options there with kind of different skill sets. You got Micah Harper coming back from injury. He was in the 60 and 60 today. And then you've got, a freshman in Tommy Parasis, who was a star in spring ball. I think he's going to be factored in. You bring back Kerr Wakely, bring back Ethan Slade, who started game. Tanner Wall, Falatau Satawala comes into the mix. That safety room is kind of just fascinating how it all shakes out. I think Harper and Alfrey probably are atop that depth chart, but, man, there's so many options for Jay Hill to work with. And, of course, the D-line. Tyler Batty's got to be a star. I think a name to watch that I've heard a lot of buzz about going into the season at D-end is Weber State transfer from a couple years ago, Logan Latui. He's going to be someone that's a big piece to what BYU does at that OE outside edge spot. I think Zay Banyap from the Boise State transfer is going to be that starter, but Logan Latui is probably going to be, 50-50 in snaps with him. A lot of buzz on Logan Latui. And then the interior, replacing Danny Saili, who left after spring, goes to Arkansas. There wasn't really concern in BYU's program about him because Blake Mangelson shifts from the edge. He goes to the interior. And you've got John Nelson, who's going to be very good this season. I got big expectations for John Nelson. And then Sonny Tuwala as a defensive end, D-tackle, can do a lot of different things. I've been talking about him for months. He's going to be a special football player for BYU. So getting a first glimpse of him coming into the mix as well. So there's battles all across the board defensively. It's kind of just drilling down the starters and really figuring out, but there's good options there. And again, I think the defense is going to be one of the big surprises in the Big 12 this year, and they can maybe mask some of the deficiencies at times of this offense because I think this defense is going to be pretty physical, and I think they're going to be pretty stout.
Mitch Harper, fresh off of an ER visit. We love that he's playing banged up. Now, look, not a lot of people can say that. And Mitch, you're still going to be with me tomorrow, though, right?
Oh yes, I'm gonna be ready, Alex. I'll be ready to go. The ears. I mean, my wife even said you're deaf already with like all your headsets. So it's like, you know, like who cares if you got a cotton ball in there? I'm like, no, I gotta go get it out because I got JJ and Alex on Friday, and I'll be ready to go. I'll be no day to day. I'm full go, ready to go.
Go do the full Trump, gauze over the ear situation. Just go. We'll do it.
Do that.
I feel like we have a Curb Your Enthusiasm. We have a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode coming here.
Oh yeah.
Where he's going to be mistaken for a.
Excuse me.
He's going to be mistaken for a Trumper, and he's going to get in big trouble here.
Oh my goodness!
Someone's not going to like you, Mitch, if you put that bandage on.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to sit by
tomorrow.
him. Yeah, that's how you get to the front of the lines. Good, Mitch. We appreciate it, man. I guess hit it with a heating pad. I don't know what you do for the inner ear. I'm not really aware, but we'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out today, man.
You bet, guys. Take care.
There you go.
Thanks,
Mitch Harper. We'll take the break. I'm glad he's playing through it. This is the stuff that goes through, the stuff that happens to us, man. All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back. When we do, got ourselves a couple things. One, NFL Roundup. You don't want to miss any of that. Plus, on top of it, we've got ourselves a best and worst, so don't miss any of it. Right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.